Hey guys, sorry about my eyes. I have hellacious allergies, and it's just uncontrollably messing me up. So I looked at the video. It looks like shit. I don't feel like reshooting it, so you're just gonna have to deal with it. I'm sorry. Just don't look. All right. Hopefully the information helps you out. So here we go. Hey, what's going on? My name is Sean Mormelo. Thanks for being here. I had some questions in my comments on some videos because I think I made the statement that I was going to make a video basically outlining the first 40 songs that you should know, or my opinion of the first 40 songs that you should know to perform solo. And upon really thinking about it in retrospect, I think that's impossible to do based on the fact that not everybody's in the same place. Not all songs are the standards based on geographically where you are on the globe. For instance, I used to perform in Europe a lot, and some of the standards there weren't standards here, and some of the bands that are really well known here aren't well known there, and vice versa. So I think it would be, I would be remiss in recommending 40 songs. So instead, I answered this a few times in the comments. I gave some ideas of bands that I thought you should do, and you pretty much should cover all the classics, and it should be stuff that people know, generally speaking. Now, I speak in generalities. I know people who do obscure covers and a lot of their own material, and they make a living doing that. So, but if your name's not on the marquee, and you're performing to, a venue, basically as a support to that venue to keep people happy and keep them eating, drinking, having a good time, add to the vibe, the ambiance. You're going to want to play stuff that they know. It doesn't necessarily have to be the most overplayed stuff in the world, but you're going to want to play artists they know. So for me, doing the tiki bar thing, the Caribbean thing, the Florida thing, you want to know some Zach Brown, you want to know Jimmy Buffett, you want to know Kenny Chesney, you want to know anything beachy and fun and relaxing, Bob Marley, things like that. Also, stuff you can sing along to. So I would recommend, in general, people know the Beatles, several Beatles songs, several Eagles songs, definitely Hotel California. Jimmy Buffett, definitely Zach Brown, he's newer. You definitely want to know, get some of the 70s singer-songwriters in there, because you're still going to be playing to some boomers and some older Gen X's, people that grew up on that. So your flavor, whether it's Crosby, Stills, Nash, Neil Young, Jackson Brown, stuff like that. If you want to get into the 80s, put your flair on some 80s tunes. You can do Bon Jovi, you can do Poison, you can do stuff like Crowded House or Tears for Fears. You can get into that realm. It doesn't matter. Good, fun 80s tunes, I think everybody loves. I do a lot of 90s because, 90s are 30 years on now. And most of the millennials, which is a huge generation, up to about 40, 41 years old, that's the stuff they grew up on, and I don't care if it's Matchbox 20 or Pearl Jam or Collective Soul or, stuff like, Breakfast at Tiffany's, Dave Matthews Band, although that's kind of a Gen X band too, but it crosses over. You can do the grunge stuff like Nirvana, everybody knows that. But like I said, I try to stick to classic artists and the American Songbook, for everything from Otis Redding to the Beatles to Elvis Presley to Roy Orbison, a lot of Tom Petty. You want that on your list. Queen, Jim Croce, like the songwriter thing. Cat Stevens, Harry Chapin, James Taylor, John Cougar, John Mellencamp, same guy. Elton John, what's his name, the other piano man, Billy Joel, two of the greatest ever. And you can do, it depends on what you can do, Stevie Ray Vaughan, David Bowie. You could get into stuff like ZZ Top, whatever. I mean, as long as people know it, Because when I was starting out, my first 40 songs were a little bit different because it was 30-something years ago, and a lot of none of the 90s stuff was out yet. And, I was doing heavy 60s and 70s back then. I'm not so heavy on the 60s anymore because you figure my mom graduated in 69, the last year of the 60s, and she's 71 years old. So You know, there's not a lot of, my crowd is mostly Gen X and millennials, pretty much heavy. So I do a lot of 80s and a lot of 90s, and I don't do a lot of modern stuff, but if you do want to put modern stuff on, you know, the Zac Brown, the Florida Georgia Line, the Luke Bryans, and the Blake Shelton, Keith Urban, and you know, any of the stuff that's out now that's decent, that is stuck around, you know, that people are going to know, be able to sing along with. Or the female artists, the contemporaries like Miranda Lambert and Little Big Town, and you know, it's just, you can go on and on. Generally, if a song was a big hit, you can have it on your list, and you probably should have I mean, I have Margaritaville on my list. I have Brown Eyed Girl from the 60s on my list. I have Hotel California on my list. I throw some Zeppelin in there. I throw some Pink Floyd in there. Just the greatest, biggest bands ever. I have AC/DC, but of course I don't scream it. I do it my own way. I've got Boston. I've got Journey in different keys because I don't sing that high. I've got Kansas, Dust in the Wind. You know, you can, the sky's the limit, really. You know, I'm doing Missing You by John Waite lately from the 80s. And I'm doing Corey Hart, Sunglasses at Night, Never Surrender. I'm doing Phil Collins and Prince. Great 80s tunes. Got my list is very 80s friendly and 80s heavy. I can't pull it up because I'm filming on my phone, on my iPad. I tried to find the list on here, but it's not on here. I don't really perform with this anymore. I don't really use lyrics, so I do reference a song list now and then. But what else? I'm doing stuff like, you know, just solo Don Henley. You can do solo Glenn Frey. You can do anything. You can do the Cars. You can do the Clash. You know, I pull stuff out like Seven Mary 3 from the 90s, Stone Temple Pilots. I'll do Bare Naked Ladies, you know, if I had $1 million, or I'll do Green Day, Alanis Morissette, Oasis for sure. Wonderwall should definitely be on your list. I probably have, at one time, probably had 60 Beatles songs on my list. You know, probably about 60. You throw a Bob Dylan in there. I mean, everybody knows anybody my age or older knows Bob Dylan. You can do stuff like, you know, it was redone. You can do stuff like, give me the beat, boys, free my soul. I mean, wanna get lost in your rock and roll and drift away. Adobe Gray, but Uncle Cracker did that as well. You can throw some of that stuff on there. You can throw Picture by Kid Rock, or All Summer Long. Do like a medley all summer long into Werewolves of London and Sweet Home Alabama. You got to have Leonard Skinner on your list, obviously. I do some Allman Brothers, Leonard Skinner. I'll do some Marshall Tucker for my Southern rock stuff. I pull out a lot of Johnny Cash. I'll throw some Waylon Jennings in there. Some, you know, Willie Nelson, Traveling Wilburys. God, there's just so much. I mean, my list is so extensive. It's hundreds and hundreds of songs, and it's always evolving. Things. Sometimes I'll pull something out I haven't done in 5, 10 years, maybe. You know, if I can do it, if I remember it. But you know, so it's really impossible. I think if you're in the Midwest, your tunes are going to be a little bit different. They might be more Americana-based, heavily country. If you're in Texas, you might be doing some dirt road stuff, maybe some Texas artists. Maybe you got Pat Green on there. Maybe you got, you know, I do Lyle Lovett. You know, maybe your stuff is going to be like Robert Earl Keen and Texas Troubadour stuff. You know, it just depends on where you're at. The great California stuff you can do. You know, everything from America, Ventura Highway. You could pull out any of that stuff, man. Creedence Clearwater Revival, you gotta have that on there. Do some soul. You can pull off the soul stuff. Otis Redding, you know, James Brown, all that stuff goes over, man. The funky stuff. I do Superstition by Stevie Wonder. You can do Sir Duke. So I mean, it's impossible for me to put what I think the first 40. I could easily do it for my gig if you were doing my gig at you know, resorts and tikis and stuff like that on the water. It would be different if you were just doing corporates, if you were just doing like completely different if you were doing weddings. That's what I'm saying. I'm writing a book. I started it in 2020. I think I'm going to start it again. I think I'm going to come up with starter lists for corporate bands, just generic corporate bands, solo acoustic, private events bands, weddings, stuff like that. I'm not going to bother with rock bands because I think if you're getting paid $100 a night in a bar still these days, you're basically doing it for fun. So I think at that point you should just play whatever the hell you want. If you're having fun, the crowd's having fun. So that's about it for this video. Sorry I couldn't give you what I originally said, which was the definitive 40 songs. It's not possible. It's not possible because there's too many variables of that 40 song starter list. I don't think I would go performing unless I knew at least 100 songs. Those 40 songs are going to get they're going to get played out and worn out really fast. But I know in my first songs there would be probably 4 or 5 Beatles, 2 or 3 Elton Johns, 2 or 3 Billy Joels. There would be there'd be a Queen song. There would be Eagles for sure, like 4 or 5 Eagles tunes. There'd probably be, like I said, there'd probably be Jimmy Buffett. There'd probably be, I do some Garth Brooks. I probably have him in there. I probably have some stuff like, No Shoes, No Shirt, No Problem. I would probably have just tried and true stuff like Van Morrison, and I don't know, the sky's the limit. Like I said, I do U2 stuff. I do a lot of stuff in the 80s. There's just so many tunes. Crowded House, it's killer. I mean, the band. I mean, the list is just endless. That's why I have to say I'm sorry. I can't just do 40 tunes. But I'm going to insert here my song list, the screenshots of my song list, and you can check those out as well. All right, so I hope this is helpful. And by the way, my song lists haven't been updated in a long time, so this is just give you an idea. All right, talk to you soon. Bye.